College football isn't just a game. It's a spectacle filled with history, tradition, and passion.
People ask me, what game should I see? And I always tell them the third weekend in October at West Point. The leaves are changing. You walk across that campus and you think of the people who went there. Ulysses S. Grant, MacArthur, Eisenhower, Bradley. You feel their ghost. They're there. And then on Saturday morning, they have the parade with those tall hats, eyes right, and you stand there and you say, this is something. And it's autumn, the best time of the year. When God created October, he said, this is when we're going to play college football.
As the kickoff nears, emotions swell within the guts of the players. Young warriors are asked to recall those who came before them, the very ones who sculpted legends inside the walls of their school stadium. This passing of the gridiron torch links generations of athletes and expands on that institution's mystique.
Notre Dame stands out because of its Golden Dome. Now, that's a trite statement, but believe me, anybody that mentions Notre Dame anywhere in the world will talk about the Golden Dome. So you can start right there.
The night before the game, we stayed at a little seminary across the lake from Notre Dame. Right in front of me was the Golden Dome, and I would just look out there, and I would think about the fact of, how many other guys sat here? Which other players sat here doing this? I think that's when I realized where I was and what this meant.
The fact that the mosaic of Christ on the wall of the library and his hands are shaped like a touchdown. You don't get that anywhere else.
But there are more than mere effigies fixed to the aura of Notre Dame. Opponents are competing with folklore and tradition that inspire inexplicable awe.
I think it's the mystique of originally the underdog winning, and America loves the outsider, loves the underdog.
I think when you first come to the university, when you leave, you take something with you. There's something here that you feel.
You feel the ghosts, you feel the ghost of Rockney and Leahy and Horning and Lujack and Latner, and the names just go on and on.
And then you got in the locker room and shut out all those traditions, all the pageantry, all the things, and you sat down and you got ready to go to war.
Even a mystical power like Notre Dame cannot rely solely on history and lore to carry its kids to victory. In fact, the burden of living up to a glorious past can be overwhelming. But it is precisely at moments like these that a coach must summon a supreme sense of motivation and create a legend and a locker room tradition of his own.
Don't forget, man, we're gonna get them on the run. We're gonna go, and we aren't gonna stop until we go to that goal line.
There's only one way you get respect, and that's by looking somebody in the eye for 60 minutes. Go out there, hitch up your trousers and say, hey, baby, here I am now. Let me see you run through me now. Let me see you show some disrespect for me when I'm nose on your nose. Let me see what you think of me now that my face is to you.
I've been lucky enough to play in world championships and play in front of the biggest crowds that have ever seen football games. Nothing compares to that first opportunity when you run out of that tunnel into Notre Dame Stadium.
It seems like you're not all alone. You're a total group, but then you also have the spirit of Notre Dame with you. And then I knew I was at the right place at the right time, and knew I was not there by myself.
It's like your feet don't touch the ground. All of a sudden you burst out into this arena. All the energy is focused towards you. All the attention is at you. The stadium is set up in such a way, the fans are so close, the students are so close, and it's like a giant wave that just floats you out from the tunnel out to the sideline.
But South Bend is not the only place where an entrance onto the field is special. In many stadiums, when players burst out of that tunnel, the rush of adrenaline seems unparalleled.
And now, here come the Clemson Tigers, and there's that big rock.
When Howard's Rock was brought to Clemson from Death Valley, California, Coach Frank Howard told his team, if y'all gonna give me 110%, you can rub that rock. If you're not, keep your filthy hands off of it. Since that time, Clemson's descent into their own Death Valley has been called the 25 most exciting seconds in sports. While many schools lay claim to awe-inspiring entrances, running onto the hallowed grounds of Michigan's Big House is, for many, unforgettable.
The first time I hit that stadium, it just shook me up. I don't think there was a time I ever played in a game where I didn't stand in there and knowing your parents are there and you don't tear up. You get all excited and emotional.
When you see that stadium packed and how colorful it is, how loud it is, to be there and to experience that song and to see those helmets and when all the players come together and they bob up and down, that is a moment that you go, oh my goodness, something great is about to happen.
In the South, college football is a morality play. Absolute good versus absolute evil.
A trip across the nation will unearth distinctive celebrations of the game, but none match the frenzied pulse that beats in the veins of college football fans down south. As Marino Chasm, the longtime coach at Alcorn University, once said, in the East, college football is a cultural exercise. On the West Coast, it's a tourist attraction. In the Midwest, it is cannibalism. But down south, it is religion. And Saturday is its holy day.
Well, you start with when you're very young, and it's 365 days a year. You hear about it on the radio every day. You hear about it in conversations with your friends. It just becomes a way of life.
Those teams represent the people in that state. That's Alabama. You know, if you're from Alabama and Alabama's winning, you feel pretty good about yourself.
Touchdown! Touchdown!
In the first half of the 20th century, there were few or no pro sports teams in the South, and the college gridiron became the main show in town. Victories here became a source of pride for generations of fans who had felt looked down upon since as far back as the Civil War.
Because we lacked a lot of the cultural graces that you would find in the North or the Midwest, football as a sport was something that we could go and beat our chest very proudly and say, we're at the top of this, we've arrived, we're a part of what y'all are.
With so much seemingly at stake for each game, rituals evolved that gave fans the chance not only to inspire their teams, but to get closer to their heroes.
One of Auburn's great traditions is the Tiger Walk, where the fans line the sidewalk, and really they're in the street, and the players walk between them. Fans are cheering, and everybody's excited, and the players get a real sense of what it means to the fans.
As they reach out and touch the shoulder of a player, and they look that player in the eyes, I think they feel that they can give him some of their enthusiasm, some of their love of Auburn.
Just fighting your way through the bigger people and, let me get a watch, let me get a look. If you got on the front row, you were doing something. And I remember my dad saying, come on, get up there, work your way up there.
In 1993, Auburn was living on NCAA probation. There was no television or bowl games for the school devotees. And yet, the short-handed Tigers had gone 10-0. The only team that stood in the way of a perfect season was reviled Alabama. That Saturday morning, senior quarterback Stan White and his teammates left their dorms for Jordan-Hare Stadium.
The fans now have spilled over the curbs and onto the street as they want to touch their heroes and wish them well.
We had to literally hold hands going single file line the whole way from the dorm. I mean, it wasn't just the last 50 yards, it was the quarter of a mile or so that we had to walk.
I can remember being so overwhelmed that I thought I was going to hyperventilate. And I said, man, if these players can just get to this Tiger Walk, there's no way we're going to lose that game.
Here up the middle, Bostic, 5 yards, 10 yards, 45, Bostic, 50, Bostic, racing to the 45, to the 40, breaking and tackle to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, he's gone! Touchdown, Auburn!
And of course, we came back in the fourth quarter and won that game.
In some places, these pregame rituals take on a significance that surpasses the game itself. At Texas A&M, they leave fans poised to unleash a game day frenzy and unite the university in a way that little else can. In an unmatched display of devotion and camaraderie, 50,000 people will fill Kyle Field on Friday nights to practice yelling for the next day's game. Perhaps Texas A&M's greatest tradition is one that began as a symbol of the Aggies' burning desire to beat the hell out of Texas. But it has come to mean much more.
Each of the logs being wired to 2 other logs is symbolic of the loyalty that Texas A&M graduates have to the school and to each other. And it's something that runs really, really deep, and it's at the very foundation of what Texas A&M's all about.
First built in 1909, the Aggie Bonfire has been recognized as the largest in the world. The details of its intricate construction passed down through the years.
Look at all those flash bulbs going off. It's a great fire.
But this unsurpassed passion can sometimes lead to tragedy.
Rescue workers have been able to extricate one student from underneath the stacks. They've been working feverishly ever since this happened. I'm sure that
On November 18th, 1999, during its final week of construction, the bonfire collapsed, killing 12 Aggies.
Last night, the bonfire collapsed, and a lot of people are hurt. And it's sad. It's tough.
Makes you think that, well, I'm out here playing a football game, and those people gave their lives for something that this school believed in and something they believed in. We want to play in a manner in which is honorable to them.
Our team actually came out early to start the second half of our game with Texas, and it was a circumstance I've never seen before in years of college coaching. An entire stadium, we had the largest crowd to ever see a football game in the state of Texas, and there was dead silence in the stadium.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a part of the tribute to the bonfire victims, the 4,400...
I thought it was a great expression of the true good in human nature, that not only our fans but the Texas fans were there, all those people, there was a common bond of human feeling, and I thought it was exhibited that day at that stadium.
I once was taking a midnight bus from Syracuse to New York, and I sat down on the bus, and the man sitting next to me began humming and singing college fight songs. And I turned to him and I said, "Oh, is that your alma mater?" And he said, "No, it's the football season, and I love it."
Saturday, and the orange sun peeking through crimson-brown leaves is deceiving in the crisp air. Station wagons, campers, and luxury sedans roll to a stop in cornfields and leaf-fallen asphalt. It's game day. But before the lines are crossed and battle begins, people from all walks of life gather in this parking lot. They are not here merely to watch their current heroes, but to swap tales of past gridiron greatness as they savor the food, the colors, the smells. They are part of a tradition that takes its name from the back of a truck, but is hardly limited to that. Tailgating is a part of autumn, from the yards of Harvard to the swamps of the bayou.
There's no place like Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. I mean, absolutely no place. The mobile homes come rolling in, and they set up tents, and they start cooking their Cajun foods. And everywhere you look, there are signs that say, "Go Tigers, G-E-A-U-X." They have been into the grape too much before the ball game starts, and they go and they really enjoy the contest.
Now come on, all you Tigers! Come on, all you Tigers! And shake your caboose! And shake your caboose!
Those people take vacations strictly to be able to come to see LSU, plan their whole season around LSU season tickets to come to the football game. And that's good. That's really good.
Whatever it is that makes fans with names like Ragu, Crazy Tony, and Hard Hat Bob gather up their families and join the makeshift Mardi Gras party outside thunderous Tiger Stadium isn't limited to LSU.
You go in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, we have 4 generations. Sometimes we have the great-grandfather and the grandfather, and then the young ones down here.
There is such an attachment by alumni to the sport of college football, with the bands, the cheerleaders, the tailgating.
At the annual Harvard-Yale match, corporate planning and political strategies often replace conversations of lineups and national championships.
It's a unique crowd. First of all, they still come back. A lot of people with the raccoon coats, the women are in fur coats. They're walking around with the Manhattans and the martinis. It's not the cans of beer. They come in limos and they set up these long picnic tables and they bring out magnums of champagne. I mean, it's really a unique pageant. That's what makes it so spectacular.
It becomes a social event. Alums of Harvard and Yale, those going to Harvard and Yale, those who associate themselves with Harvard and Yale, the 2 most elite schools in America, come to this game. It's a very, very large event.
And you never know who you can see. There's always famous people walking around Yale-Harvard games. And they come from miles around.
This distinguished Ivy League rivalry gave birth to tailgating. The autumn phenomenon began in the 1890s in Springfield, Massachusetts, where Harvard-Yale games were once held.
Boston and Maine and Boston and Albany stations were absolutely mobbed by people.
Radcliffe girls dressed with chrysanthemums anxiously waited with Harvard boys who would boo anytime they saw someone wearing Yale's colors. The idea of the crimson versus the blue was born. And with this pageantry came the desire not just to cheer, but to celebrate.
There were people that chartered parlor cars, sort of like luxury boxes that would take them to Springfield with all drinks and amenities.
In the fall, when the kids were all back to school and ready to go, this gave them the chance to get out there and really be part of Yale University, became part of them. And they were able to go out and cheer for their team and start with the fight songs and the colors and everything that came with it.
Students who give 4 years of their life to a college will one day come back for football games, because it is here that they rekindle friendships and smile at stories they've heard countless times before. College football provides a fabric that knits generations and classes together in a way that little else can.
Fumble, can't find the handle. SC jumps on it. The Trojans have it at the Notre Dame 15-yard line.
On 4th and 1, he gets his pass off, and he's intercepted. I don't believe it.
Oh, he's loose. He's got a convoy.
You can't find it. He's still dribbling it. He falls on it. One man. Goodbye. Touchdown, Buckeyes. Whoa, Nelly.
You'd hate to think of where college football might have been without Keith Jackson.
They call him Jingle Joints. He's a big, lanky boy. He has a great stride.
Oh, Nelly. They're hot today. The barn's on fire and taking a couple rows of the cornfield.
And the last time Brian Greasy ran that far, his dad was chasing him with a stick.
Oh, you never knew what he was going to say.
That's too much hesitation. You can't be toe dancing around back there. They'll give you a tutu. You got to put your head down and go north and south.
You can sense Keith is excited. And I think he brings fans along with him when he does that.
It's time to blow out the candle. This party is about to begin.
If you're looking for one guy, one voice, it's Keith Jackson.
He's got it. He's gone. Goodbye. There was nobody home, nothing but taillights and a TD.
With a down-home wit cultivated on the farms of Georgia, Keith Jackson has been entertaining college football fans since he became a play-by-play announcer for ABC Sports in 1966. But Jackson, like many of the great television announcers, got his start and his inspiration from the radio.
Radio is the use of words. It's a creation of images. It's the ability, if the announcer is worth a damn, to build a picture for somebody to see.
Score is Southern Methodist 14, Notre Dame 20, but SMU has got this ball down on the Notre Dame 2-yard line, right directly in front of the goal post. It's midway.
Before Bill Stern stepped behind a microphone in 1934, he was a stage manager for the Radio City Musical. In the years that followed, he would bring a sense of theater to the radio that made the drama of a college football game come to life in living rooms, pool halls, and barbershops across the country.
Kyle Rote 7 yards behind his center. He starts slow, too. He could get hit back there. It's Rote trying to go around the left side of his line. He is into the end zone. He scores!
Well, he was essentially a showman. And one of the things he knew was that college football needs emotion. And emotion is best personified by cheers, the crowd yelling, the screaming. That's what brings it in, the crowd roar.
Score is Notre Dame 20, Southern Methodist 20. Excuse me yelling, but believe me, I have to yell to make yourself heard. Over 75,000 half-hysterical football maniacs.
Stearns was good because he's on the radio, and if you're out 1,500 miles away, you don't know whether he's telling the truth or not.
Stern would often make mistakes and never concede the fact that he made a mistake. So if Smith was running with the ball and he had Jones and the man was about to go the distance, at the very end he'd have this phantom lateral.
Tucker laterals over to Davis. Glenn picks a one-way street, breaks away from a Navy tackler and scores standing up. Listen to that crowd.
The man who paved the way for Bill Stern's showmanship was the father of live sportscasting, Graham McNamee. The 1927 Rose Bowl between Alabama and Stanford would be the first ever coast-to-coast radio broadcast of any kind. And McNamee's compelling description of the 7-7 tie captivated those who made the game their New Year's Day entertainment.
He had a lot of exuberance. He worked himself into a frenzy prior to the game and made fans even crazier. But his style wasn't one that was very prescribed. The man who gave it a prescribed style was the great Ted Using.
Drops a quick crisscross play, gives it to Davis, the left halfback. Davis right along with Davis into the clear.
He was the creme de creme.
If Bill Stern was college football's best storyteller, then Ted Husing was his master technician.
Bill had this wonderful ability to just waltz into a booth, whatever it was, and make it happen. Ted stayed up all night preparing.
This cross-buck play to his right halfback, Dale Hall. Hall over left tackle, gets in the clear, goes for a touchdown.
The golden voices of Husing, Stern, McNamee, and their peers connected legions of fans directly to their teams. They helped make college football the nation's #1 sports attraction on the radio.
We had it fairly rough, but we did always have a radio. And you worked, and when you got home, you listened to the radio. And it was Ted Husing and Bill Stern and those guys, and they could make a chicken fight sound really exciting.
You'd listen to a Notre Dame game by either announcer. Goosebumps from start to finish.
Taking an overhead catch by Terry Brennan on his own two. He's up to the 3, the 5, the 10, the 15, the 20, up to the 25, the 30, the 35, the 40, up to the 45, the 50, down to the 45, the 40, down to the 35, the 30. He's down to the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. He goes the whole way for a touchdown for Notre Dame.
They were actors, but brilliant actors, and who really loved football.
That passion continues to draw fans to the radio every game day. The emotion pouring out is often so rich that the fan has a better seat in his car or favorite chair than in the bleachers of the stadium.
Bob Ufer, the old-time Michigan announcer, his call of Anthony Carter's 45-yard touchdown pass that beat Lee Corso and the Indiana Hoosiers back in 1979, he goes on a monologue that is just he just lost his mind.
Okay. Under center is Wangler at the 45. He goes back. He's looking for a receiver. He throws downfield to Carter.
When I was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade, I was watching the OSU-Michigan game on TV with my dad. And at that time, I hadn't played an instrument. And I watched the Script Ohio on TV and watched the eye daughter dot the I. And I said to my dad, I want to do that someday. And he kind of looked at me strangely.
The marching band is a game day spectacle. Bridging the two halves of action on the gridiron, the band provides an opportunity not only for innovative entertainment, but also keeps up the spirit of the faithful. They first appeared in the Midwest and were militaristic. The concept spread and was redefined. Nowhere did it elevate to preeminence as in the pulsating gridirons of traditional black college football.
Black college football really is it's a social event. It's a community event, and there are many people who go to black college football games just to see halftime.
You can sort of feel it as you get close to halftime, the concession stands start to thin out, because even though the game may not be as exciting that day, people are making their way back to their seat or some vantage point where they can watch the band, and you can sort of feel the buzz.
And the bands march out, and it's a show. You know, you go to a black college football game, and a concert breaks out.
They just high energy, high stepping. I think maybe Coach Rob said it one time. There's a lot of guys that can't make the band, but can make the football team.
The competition to be in a black college band
The competition between black college bands is just as fierce as the competition between the football programs and the players. I mean, there are band directors who've had their bands working out with car headlights shining on them late at night because they want to get these things right.
The band director who introduced halftime flair in the South was Grambling's Conrad Hutchinson. He was from a Tuskegee family of musicians, and in the service he had found himself performing with military bands. But when Conrad arrived at Grambling in 1952, he was ready to shatter the way most fans watched halftime.
He introduced dance steps to go with the music, and they played the popular tunes, so they appealed to the public.
Our band is playing and moving and dancing all at the same time. The only problem we have with the band is making certain that they don't go over the halftime allotment so that we don't get penalized.
This band has often been imitated, but never adequately duplicated. The famed, internationally renowned Grambling State University Tiger Marching Band.
In a 1936 game against Indiana, the 120-piece Ohio State Band fanned out across the belly of the gridiron, scripting Ohio in a manner that was reminiscent of smoke riding common to the state fair. The awe-inspiring feat left a lasting impression because of the solitary band member who completed the formation. To this day, one senior is chosen for each home game to stand alone in Columbus Stadium and dot the I.
The person who dots the I has nothing to look forward to except being a parent and a grandparent. Outside of that, he has nothing to look forward to. He dotted the I. What else is there? The lottery, forget the lottery. Forget being president. He dotted the I.
To go out there and have basically 90 to 100,000 people on their feet cheering, the roar of the crowd, they are exhilarated beyond belief. You can look into their eyes and know that this is a very special moment in their life and will be forever. The Friday rehearsal before the Saturday was really when it all just hit. The news cameras are there, newspapers, reporters, my parents and family were in town, and that night I put the last coat of shine on my horn and kind of said a little prayer and went to bed and woke up bright and early, and it was time to go to work then. The crowd got louder and louder, and the O, the H, the I. And finally, I was standing at the top of the small O, and I gave the drum major 5. All I can remember is this intense roar. My last thought was, don't fall. And I can remember the moment to this date, and I remember the tears streaming from my eyes when the band played our alma mater, Carmen, Ohio. And it's a moment I'll never forget.
In 1922, Texas A&M took on a mighty Center College in what was then called the Dixie Classic. The game was so brutal that by the end of the first half, A&M was in danger of not being able to finish the game because so many of their players had been injured. Out of a moment of need and desperation, Aggie coach D.X. Bible gave rise to one of the most symbolic traditions in college football.
He had a player on the team named King Gill that had been on the team, and he had released him so he could start practicing with the basketball team. So he sent word up to King Gill.
You know, King, we're about to run out of players. Is there any way you could suit up and be available in the second half if we need you? And he said, sure, Coach, I'll do it.
Years later, E. King Gill would recall, there were no dressing rooms in the stadiums in those days. Anyway, I put on the uniform of one of the injured players. We got under the stands, and he put on my clothes, and I put on his uniform. I was ready to play, but was never sent into the game.
He really wasn't needed, but since that time, our entire student body stands throughout the game, being ready, and if we're called upon, we're ready to help. That's what the 12th man's all about.
It would be 61 years after Gill stood poised on the sidelines as the original 12th man before the Aggie student body was finally called onto the field. In 1983, under Coach Jackie Sherrill, Texas A&M's kickoff team was comprised completely of walk-on, non-scholarship athletes. The tradition has since been modified. Each week, one walk-on is chosen to wear number 12 and charge downfield in the kickoffs.
The 12th man is a living thing. It's not just a thing that they put a statue out there and said, hey, this would be a great idea. No, the 12th man lives, and it always will.
The spirit of the 12th man resides in the soul of fans at all universities and is perhaps best expressed in a blood-pumping ritual passed down through the years, the singing of the school's fight song.
And whole stadiums up. And it's not that you're just clapping. Most of the time they're clapping in time to the music. And it starts at a young age. If you go to football games, there are 4- and 5-year-olds there. They know the fight song, and so they grow up with it.
Cheer, cheer for old Notre Dame.
Fight the team across the field, show them Ohio's here. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da.
Hail to the victors, valiant hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West.
The Victors. This is actually my favorite as a pure song, okay? It pounds. It's invigorating, it's stunning, it's proud.
My friends counted Rocky Top 39 times in the Tennessee game in the first half. 39 times the band played Rocky Top. You think their fans weren't fired up?
And that guy would come out in a white horse and start prancing around. I got more fired up than they did. I just loved it. I loved that song, and it got me going.
These songs are so meaningful to you, even if they're not great, but if they're great songs like these, they live on forever.
It still sticks to me today, and every time I hear that Notre Dame fight song, I get goosebumps. Why our loyal sons are marching onward to victory.
No one can predict what turns the pitched battle on a muddy field may take, or the joy and anguish that will follow. But the traditions that surround the game remain the same. It is that continuity that bonds. And at moments when the outcome of the game seems more important than anything else, it is tradition that gives perspective.
First day, you get your head shaved and get an orientation by the superintendent, and at the end you say, beat Army. So right away you know that this is a big deal.
It means so much to them. It really does. They're not going anywhere except on active duty when it's over. They're playing because they love it. They love to win. They want to win.
So there is a fierce rivalry, but yet there is a comradeship at the end of the game.
I don't think you'll ever see a football game where both teams line up after the game, shake each other's hand, go to each other's side, and stand as the other sings their alma mater.
You see tears on both sides because the seniors realize this is an ending for them. Whether they've won or lost the game, football's over.
I cry at the end of every one of those games because knowing that these seniors have put it all on the line to win that football game and moving on to defend our country.
These guys could be fighting together someday on the same team in a much larger sense than a football sense.
And you look and you're in the stands and you say, I'd rather be here than anywhere else in the world to see this. To me, it's the greatest tradition in college football.
The fifth quarter at Wisconsin is an opportunity for college football fans to celebrate themselves. With the players tucked away in the locker room, all the pageantry and pomp surrounding the game culminate when Badger students, boosters, and faculty stream from the stands for an impromptu party with the school band.
The first time I saw the fifth quarter, I was halfway out of the door, and students yelled at me to stay, that I was missing the best part of Wisconsin football. I didn't know what they were talking about, but the students actually came and got me and turned me around and walked me back into the students section to sit with them as the fifth quarter began. And then I saw what they saw.
Everybody doesn't win all their games all the time, and so people like to leave the stadium feeling good about their university and feeling good about their team and feeling good about their band.
I learned how to do the chicken dance. If you wanted to be part of Wisconsin and you wanted to be part of the fifth quarter, you had to learn how to dance like a chicken. Deep down inside of you, it bonds you to the university, to the state, to the wider community who never went to the University of Wisconsin, but want to be part of the spirit.
While the fifth quarter offers college football fans a celebration in its purest form, a tradition in tiny Williamstown, Massachusetts, does the same for its players. In the reverse course of the Tiger Walk, the Williams football team leaves the field and walks through town after their final home game of the season.
The walk is where you leave behind the intensity of the competition and start to enjoy yourself with your teammates.
For some, this is the last time they will experience the feeling of a college football game firsthand. And so they hold on to the moment, hoping that by gathering in Rogers St. Pierre's barbershop, the day will never end.
That's right, man.
A number of years ago, I guess they started, and somebody dropped in there and they started smoking stogies, I guess, and embellishing stories and giving creative haircuts to one another or something. And I've been there 28 years. I've never set foot in the place or even near the place. It's kind of like, I guess, I don't want to know.
It's just a wonderful chance to prolong the day. You have a great sense of history when you're in there. A great sense of celebration and fun. It's a wonderful ending.